everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is BitchStitcheryCrafts, or my name is Betsy, but my channel is BitchStitcheryCrafts, and I have the same account on Instagram, so if you're looking for me there, just search under BitchStitcheryCrafts, all one word. I just want to welcome any of my new subscribers that came since the last time, or if you're new here, just really want to welcome you in. I love connecting with other cross stitchers and crafters and finding out what all of the interesting things people are doing, and yeah, just like a diversity of patterns and people and perspectives is all welcome here. So, yeah, I think I'm probably going to be sticking to once a month filming. I thought maybe last time was just a fluke, but, you know, life has been lifing, and so here I am with a mid-May update. It's May 18th, 2025 when I'm filming. This is a channel about cross stitch, mostly. Today there will be a little bit of crochet that I'll let you know about, but mostly cross stitch. And I like to start my episodes with shout outs. So I am just looking at my notes. Have been watching with envy all of the Stitch North recaps and vlogs, and really enjoying some of the new style of videos that some people are doing with vlogging. I saw Bridget, the Museum Stitcher, did some of those, or did one for Stitch North. I think she did a previous one for Nashville Needlework Market, and same with Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. Really enjoyed, although was also wondering how it is trying to vlog at your table at a retreat when there's so much going on around you and you're basically just like talking to your camera. That I was impressed, let's just put it that way. And then I think actually the first one I watched was from Michelle Bendy Stitchery. Always love her videos and perspective. So yeah, those were the vloggers. I also, probably because of Stitchy Monopoly, I am on this Discord with a bunch of stitchers doing cross stitch Monopoly, and several of them also do Twitch streams. So I joined several of those. It's an interesting way to interact with people because you get to watch what they're doing, but then they're also interacting with people in the chat, so you can get some interaction, but you're like not also on video. And so especially I want to shout out Zakayla and all of the knitters that were working on what they have deemed the Spite sweater, where Ian's Crafts, I'm probably not thinking of his name correctly, but I'll put it on the screen, had challenged Zakayla to finish a knitted cardigan before him, and then also challenged a bunch of other people, and then it was the Spite sweater because stitching or crocheting quickly in spite of Ian, and I just happened to be on her Twitch stream when Zakayla finished, so that was cool. I am not a knitter, although I am interested, so it was just interesting to watch like the binding off of the entire sweater, and and the entertaining sort of banter between folks is fun. I also went to some other Twitch streams. This all started because the person who runs the Discord server, Vintage So Gal, also is a Twitch streamer, and they do body doubling, like co-working Twitch streaming during the week. And I think I might have mentioned on my last video that I had attended that, and there's like a Pomodoro timer, and like a bot that you can put like your task list into, and so it's just kind of like a good like accountability buddy, even though that person isn't like your coworker or whatever. So I had gone to several of those, and then I sort of started to branch out into other Twitch streamers who I saw posting that they were live in the Discord server for Monopoly. Yeah, so a lot of like interacting with folks in real time online this last couple weeks. I also went to Spring Mingle, and that was really cool. I'll get into that a little bit more later. Another Flosstuber I've really been enjoying is Andrew the Runner Stitcher. I've been watching him for a while, but he's someone who usually posts weekly, and so that's just, it's sort of a nice like getting to check in with someone that you know, sort of, on a weekly basis. And he was in Florida the last few weeks visiting family, and I just really loved the episode where he was sharing some of his cross stitch, but also his mom was there, and his mom was sharing like past cross stitch, but also like diamond paintings that she'd been working on. And I just thought that was really sweet and different, and it was cute. So shout out to Andrew. He's also doing a challenge, which, given what's going on with me, I feel like I cannot participate in, but it's super cute. He's training for a marathon, and so he's putting in a spreadsheet that's accessible to others, like how many miles and minutes that he's been running as part of his training for this marathon. And then the stitch along is called Whip It Into Shape Stitch Along, with width being work in progress. And folks are doing 10 stitches for every mile, or the same amount of minutes, or I think Jessie Marie Does Stuff decided, because that wasn't enough stitches, to make it a multiplier of 26.2, which is the number of miles in a marathon. So for every mile, she stitches 26.2 stitches. I don't know how the 0.2 works. It's probably a rounding thing. But so that was cool. But yeah, his videos are great, so I would recommend him even without the mom diamond painting parade. But that was just a special one for me. I also got back into watching Rogue Mama Stitcher. I'm not a regular watcher, but I go into her channel like every so often, and I'm always like excited to see all the things she does that are very different from me. She does a lot of soda stitch, and she has a lot of projects. So just enjoying her vibe and like looking at all of her different projects. And yeah, that was nice. I definitely recommend her. She does a lot of stuff that's also like really colorful, and that's just nice. So let's see, who else? Already talked about Stitch North recaps. I definitely watched more than just those that were vlogs. So I'll make a list of different ones that I watched that were good, but it's been interesting. Like, there's the girlies, which is like Cam the Stitcher and Frizzy Lizzie Stitches and Maddie and Elizabeth and Ken Stitch was in their table, so there was like that group of people where a lot of the things are similar. But then I also watched Michelle's recap and a couple other folks who, you know, like there was a similar experience, but they weren't hanging out with the same people. So yeah, just sort of like a good way to be a fly on the wall at something I wasn't at, which is, you know, if that's your thing, it's fun. I also had several ways that I interacted with Wendy, the Matrix Stitcher, and I just really appreciate her. I always feel like we have good conversations. We talked again at Spring Mingle. And then I actually joined a Zoom with her and her friend Donna, who's in the UK recently. But yeah, that was cool. And then one other Twitch streamer that I watched, who I think I mentioned their Flosstube previously, is Dace, the Dace man, who is this like multi-crafter. He does really cool like lace work in addition to mirabilias and like full coverage things. And I popped into his stream on Twitch for the first time. I think it was the first time. And it was just a really good time. Like, there was crafting, but there was also just like really entertaining things. And now, trigger warning for bugs if you don't like bugs, but he has several different weird bugs as pets, and so he was showing us his bugs. He has like walking stick bugs and actually roaches, which I thought was so interesting because, you know, in the US, like roaches is like almost a universal like dislike of roaches because people have had them in their homes or like apartment buildings or whatever as like a pest. But apparently there are certain breeds that people keep as pets. So there was like these hissing roaches, and he said that they don't, in the UK, they don't have them as pests as much. So the only time he's ever seen them was like when people were had them as pets or were selling them as pets. And so that was just like a really entertaining, like him talking about his buggies and and then yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed that as well. I guess I've just been really enjoying like live interaction with people lately. Yeah, so it's been good because I feel like I'm like connecting a little bit more. It's not the same as in person. I also like couldn't make it to the Virginia meetup that was today because of just like not having a good way to get there. So, but at least I'm like filling it with these different like online things, so that's nice. So yeah. Those are my shout outs, I think. I'm sure others will come up. Oh, there was one more I wanted to say, which is Jen's Fiberweb. I have been watching Jen and her projects a lot over the last few months, and it's always a nice time. She has some really interesting projects and like color choices, and then like recently has come out with some projects that she's designed. I think they're all smalls. And like raising money for the ACLU with one of the patterns, which was like pay as you want on Ko-fi, I think. and then just like different projects that she'll play different games with herself about like which project to choose, which obviously I'm enjoying. Monopoly is definitely like scratching that itch for me. So and like in October she had like a different project she worked on every day in October, and so yeah, it's just interesting. Like I always think about, it's interesting the games that we play with ourselves to like get ourselves to do things. So like, you know, for a person with ADHD, like the Pomodoro timer is something I've used, which is where there's like I think it's because the timer used to be like shaped like a tomato, and that's what Pomodoro is in Italian. Yeah, I think so. So there used to be these kitchen timers that were tomato, but the basic way this works is like it's however many minutes on, and then you get like a little bit of time for a break, and then you either move on to the next task or keep going on the tasks that you're on. And I've used this like when I was in school for like chores or different things where it's like I can't get started, so I just say, okay, well, if I work on that thing for 30 minutes, then I'm allowed to take a break, or work on something else that I want to be doing. And then there's these games like Cross Stitch Monopoly, so that like avoid the decision fatigue. So if you can't decide what to work on, you just work on whatever your cross stitch roll is. And I know Jessie Marie Does Stuff did like something with the Great British Bake Off. I enjoy these types of games. So if anyone else has any games that they would like to recommend, I would love to hear about them. And yeah, and Jen's channel, just she's always doing something that is in that vein. So, and she's also a multi-crafter, so sometimes she brings in needlework, or knitting or crochet, so that also is good for my brain. So yeah, the other person I've been watching a lot of recently is Crafty Gaming Jamie, and I can't believe that I forgot to mention her because she has inspired me to pick up some crocheting and try something new, which I will mention in plans. But I've been really enjoying watching her. She does, usually there's some cross stitch and some crochet or knitting, and then also recaps of books. I know she sometimes gets like advanced copies of books to do reviews on, and so that's always fun. But yeah, and right now she's working on Little Gamer, I think is the name of the whip, the cross stitch whip, and just it's full coverage or almost full coverage, and girl is making so much progress on the background, and I'm just super impressed. I think that might be the way to do it, to, you know, give yourself a like good length of time where like all you're doing is seeing how many stitches you can get in when it's that much fill in. So yeah, just excited to see how like once all the background is done, then all she'll have left is the fun parts. So, and she has quite a bit of the fun parts done already too. So that is my last shout out recommendation, and let's get back to finishes. Now I will move on to FFOs. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I've shown an FFO that wasn't a gift I had already given away. Unfortunately, the first thing I have to show, that's only That's the only like true FFO I did give away, but I did take a little video and some pictures, which I will insert here. So here is my framing of the meditating sloth. I think I got it pretty straight. Took some brute force, but I did get the back on the frame. So that's nice. Yeah, just getting ready to send this off now. Okay, I'm back. So that was a finish that I did for one of my best friends, Kyla, and it has a funny story because she had like really been like focused on all things sloth, and I knew she was going to this festival, and I originally thought, oh, it'd be cool to get it to her before she goes to this festival. And then I thought, oh, well, if I can't do that, maybe I'll do it for Christmas. So the festival was like last May, I think. I think I started this in like May or April of last year. And then I was like, okay, it's not going to get it done for Christmas. And then I got like past the 75% mark, and her birthday was at the end of April, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it by then. And I got the stitching done, I think in mid-April, or maybe right before her birthday. No, I think I got the finishing done right before her birthday. But then not having a car, or like being close to like a physical post office, I didn't actually like make it to the post office until the beginning of May. So it still arrived like probably within a week of her birthday. But you know, it's like ADHD brain. Sometimes you can do the things and sometimes you cannot do the things. So but I'm really glad that I finished it and she received it, and she said she really liked it. So that is always nice to hear. And then I have the next few things I will say are not technically FFOs, but they're like what I want to say they're almost FFOs. So these are things where I have done some of the finishing, but I haven't completed it. So the first thing, which you may have seen in my finish parade, is this little small, and it says, I effing love you. And this was supposed to be a Valentine's Day thing for my partner last year, and I did share it when it was in the little hoop that I used. But I really wanted to put it in something that looked more final. So I got one of these little plastic hoops that's like, it looks like wood, but it's not. And then I did the lacing on the back, so you can see that. It's so really the only thing I think I want to do with this before I say it's like actually fully finished is I would like to either sew or glue some backing on the back of this, just so that you don't see the lacing and it's easier for it to not like accidentally get unlaced. But yeah, so I'm proud of this. It's real cute. And then, so one thing I didn't say about the sloth is that I watched a bunch of videos about pinning for frames, and so I'll mention I really liked videos. There was an old video by Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch, which was really good. There was a video from what is her name? She runs the Flosstube at Sea cruises. I will put the name in text or something so you can tell. That was also an old video, but it was super helpful. And then Helen D always has great finishing videos. But yeah, so I learned to pin in order to try and make things more centered. In the past, I had kind of just been like shoving things in frames, and not really like trying to make sure that they were super straight, and you know, not being super happy with the finish, but deciding like that's fine. So, and to be fair, like I could be a lot more fussy with the pinning, but so I did do pinning around the edges to get it into the frame for the sloth. And then I had this finish, which was from last year. And this is Sorry We're Cursed by GothXStitch. And I had shoved it in a frame, or maybe it was just in the hoop. I don't know. I had put it in the window because I just thought it was funny. And we don't really like care for people knocking on our door and all the things. So, but I realized that it was made to fit really well in this frame if you use the right count, which this is a 28 count black Monaco, and just I think 3 colors of DMC, yeah, the white and 2 greens, and so I pinned this up so you can kind of see like there's maybe some like imperfections and it's not like completely perfect, but it is pretty close. So I'm very pleased with that. So I did all the pinning, but I haven't backed it or like cut off the extra fabric or any of that. So it's almost finished, but it's been sitting on my bookshelf like this so no one can tell. So, but yeah, I would like to have it completely finished and be able to like put it somewhere where you might be able to see it if you were at the door. I'm not quite sure about how I would like make it work with the window. I feel like someone was talking about using magnets, but I feel like it would have to be a very strong magnet in order for it to work. So I'm not totally sure what I'm gonna do, but I would like this to be in the window because I just think it's hilarious, and like there aren't enough people that come to my door that I would care. Usually it's like, you know, delivery, which is they usually just knock to tell me that they left it, or you know, occasional like Jehovah's Witnesses or people trying to sell me stuff, which I usually just don't answer. So there's that. So that's my second almost finish. And then this one I'm really excited about, but I haven't done any of the pinning on it, so it's not completely straight. But I had those 7x7 frames, I think it's 7x7, that I used. I had 2 of the ones that I used for the sloth. And I put, and they were both that brown color, which looks great with the sloth, but when I put it on this piece, it was like, just made everything look blah to me. So I looked for a similar one on Amazon. I would have liked to buy from somewhere else, but Amazon is quick and cheap. And I thought this red would go well with this. This is Data Portraits 1900 by Shaded Stitchery. And yeah, so I'm really pleased this color isn't too different from the red that's in the piece. And again, I just sort of placed it. I haven't done any of the pinning or anything, but hopefully that will be something I finish soon, because I love this as a data nerd, having something that is beautiful and also represents data visualization of some of the first research that was done on the population of African Americans living in the US post, I think some of it is actually pre, but post Civil War. So 1900 is when this was presented at the World Fair in Paris. And obviously it didn't look like this, but each of the little motifs is like similar to some of the data visualization that was done. So super cool from like both a personal and historical perspective. So those are my 3 almost FFOs. So yeah, I am going to pause it here and then I will come back with my starts. I have 2 starts. Okay, so after those that FFO and those 3 almost FFOs, I didn't have any other finishes that where I just like had finished the stitching but not made it into its final form. That makes it sound like it's a Pokemon or a Transformer or something, but you know what I mean. But I did have 2 starts. I think when we last talked, I had started one of my ornaments for my ornament would go for April, but not the other one. So I did start a second ornament for April. And that was Christmas Bear by Stacy Nash. I'm trying to pull up my details so that I can have everything in front of me. So I started this Christmas Bear. As you can see, I chose to use a navy blue instead of the red because I didn't have a red. And I thought about changing the color of the bear to be closer to like what the Sloth's color was, but I figured it's a Christmas bear, so it probably should stay white. So I got a lot of this crown done and his little ears and the top of his head. I was thinking there's some specialty stitches at the top, but this is, I believe, 18 or 16 count Ada. And I kind of tried to see if I could do it piercing the Ada, but it just did not look good. So I'm trying to decide if for those, I think they're Smyrna crosses, for the little ones, if I'm gonna try to put some beads on the crown or use French knots. I also tried to do some French knots, but then I gave up. So that might be what I eventually come back to. But there's, maybe you can see in the preview, there's some specialty stitches in the crown, and then I think the Smyrna crosses in the eyes are much bigger, so those I may be able to do the called for stitches. But yeah, just I'm gonna have to do some modification, which is fine. It's a really cute pattern. Like I said, I'm using navy Ada and I am using some of the called for. It was all WIPS dye works. So I ended up using, well, okay, so there's only one that was called for that I had of WIPS dye works. And one that I'm subbing that's like a similar green. That's a WIPS dye works I have. But then I'm subbing all the rest out for Classic Colorworks and one DMC and one Gentle Arts. So, but not a whole lot of change in terms of like what types of colors. I looked for something that was very similar color. So that is that one. And then I went to the spring mingle, and I decided I was going to sign up for the class. There was one class, it was with Kathy Haberman from Hands On Design, and it was to create this little square pillow, not quite a biscornu, but a similar like pincushion type thing. I'm sure I'll put up a picture of what the finish looks like. But yeah, the class was basically how to finish it. And so that was really cool. I sort of realized like, oh, it might have been nice if I had started this ahead of time so I could actually practice doing the thing. But you know, life was lifing. So I did get a small start on the project. The project was called This Bee's Got Knees. And I think this might be the suggested, or one of the suggested fabrics, but it's I want to say it's maybe a 28 count. Actually, I really don't know what the count is, but it's a mushroom Lugana. It might be 32. And yeah, it's like the pattern kind of looks like a cross, and then you pull the four sides together with triangles in the middle. So one side has the middle and one side has the four corners. And when she was giving the class, she did say that it's easier with linen because you can like finger press it and it'll like have a memory. And the Lugana, it just doesn't do that as well. So I'm reevaluating my life choices, especially because I got a Joblin, another even weave for the Octopus Biscornu, which I haven't started. But it is really cute pattern, so I'm excited to try it out. If it doesn't work that well with the even weave, like I tried it. That's a learning in and of itself. Yeah, so those are the two things I started. When we get to like my goal progress, you'll see I'm way behind on my like other plans for May. But you know, we're only almost a little over halfway through, so maybe I'll catch up. We'll see. But yeah, now I will go into my mini WIPs. Okay, back to my WIPs. So I worked on, I think, a total of 12 WIPs, including one amigurumi. And I would say like most of that is just all the different games I'm playing with my brain. With Cross Stitch Monopoly, which has other people involved, and WIPGO, and Stitch Alongs, and Pick a WIP. So I will try to remember what I did for what as I go through these, but it's a little bit exciting that I'm touching some things that I just hadn't been reaching for, but at the same time I'm feeling a little behind on some other things, so you'll see when I get there. So I arranged my WIPs in from the longest ago that I've seen them since the last Flosstube. So I'm starting with Wooley Zipper. This is by Bent Creek Designs, and I think I might have finished the sheep and put in part of the second flower. I'm not totally sure where it was before, but this is one of their zipper kits. So I'm using all of the kit floss and linen, or I think it's linen. Yeah, it's really scratchy linen, but it gives this great like burlap look. So yeah, who knows, maybe it's burlap, I'm not really sure. But and then it's a pretty high count, and you're using pearl cotton, 1/2. Is that right? Yes. And so that's a new experience for me because it's like a much thicker thread and it has this like sort of yarn look to it. So that's interesting. Like I said, yeah, this was a Monopoly roll. And I did. I worked on this one day and I didn't put the number of stitches, but I'm guessing it was like 200 stitches because that's what a typical Monopoly roll lately has been. So I'll have to fix that later in my Notion. So that was the first one. And the second thing that I worked on, the second furthest back thing I worked on was Anne Frank by Gera by Kyoko Maruoka. And again, this was a Monopoly roll. The fabric is a 32 count Aquarius by BitchStitcheryCrafts. And using the called for DMC, 2/2. So you'll see I got more of the roof in, and I started one of the doves on the side there, and the stovepipe for the house. But yeah, great to be pulling this out a little bit, even though it hasn't yet come up on WIPCO. So that is that one. And then the other thing I did, this is all in the end of April, was I finished the April Stitch for Pride motif. So that was really cool. As I said last time, the person was Ozawindib, which I believe means yellowhead. And the learning was super interesting. I talked a little bit about it last time, but this person was known for both being a guide and a leader in their tribe, and guiding some white settlers to the actual source of the Mississippi, and was born with male sex characteristics but lived as a woman. And yeah, all kinds of interesting stories about them. There are actually yellowhead related things in this part of Canada and the US, which I can't remember who was talking about them, but I was like, ooh, I know what that is, recently, so that was cool. I haven't started the May one, which is, it looks interesting. Someone who was assigned female at birth, but earned the title of Chevalier. But again, I haven't done any of the learning or the stitching yet, so that should be coming up. I do think I saw it was like a sage green, so I'm excited about seeing how that looks on this fabric. And something else I'll point out is just that there's a few like non-cross stitch stitches in this. So you can see there's like some satin stitch at the top and bottom. And if I get really close, you can see under the satin stitch is a row of French knots. And, you know, I have a love-hate relationship with French knots. They're like, I like to practice them because I would like to be really much better at them, but I also get frustrated. I think there were just 4 French knots in the previous pattern. But these ones I actually like did practice a little bit before I did it, and still the ones on the bottom look kind of sloppy. So as I keep going, I will keep learning, hopefully. So that was Stitch for Pride. The other thing about Stitch for Pride that's really cool is there's a new Flosstuber, Eli, I think is his name, and his channel is Thick Threads. I think he's only had 2 or 3 videos so far. Really, like, not that many fewer than me, but and he is starting like a reading group to talk about the readings. And so I'm excited to see when that is. Eli, if you're watching, I have no idea when I'm available, so I'll probably just try to make it whenever you make it. But I got added to like a Instagram group chat about that, so I'm excited to get a little chance to dive into the materials a little bit more. And Dee had commented that he has always wanted to do something like this but just didn't have the capacity. He's a teacher, and even this year some of the learnings and stuff are being done by someone else because it's a lot of work. I mean, every month you get learnings about this person, and then a pattern that goes with the learnings. And yeah, I mean, it's just an amazing thing. I'm so thankful that this exists because I really feel, I guess, more connected to like the historical both like presence and importance of trans and two-spirit people in our history. So I am really thankful. It helps me to stay focused on how there are these times when there are cultural discussions, persecution, etc. going on, but there's a long history of trans and LGBTQ people in the world, and they have done really amazing things. And yeah, so more about the night next time. And then I think that might have been called for Pick-a-Whip as well. So, or sorry, for Stitching Monopoly. I got added to a second board. And so now it's like sometimes there's a bunch of things happening in a row, and sometimes I have some time to wait in between, just depending on where each board is. But yeah, I think for that one, I started it because of a Monopoly roll, and then I finished it to try and finish it by the end of April. And I'm pretty sure I posted on my Instagram on like the last day of April, like I finished it within the time, but of course I haven't started May, so we'll see how that goes. And then the reason I said Pick-a-Whip was because I was thinking about Pick-a-Whip because in April, one of the Pick-a-Whips was a 2023 whip, And the only WIP that I still have from 2023 is embroidery. And so I got this out. It doesn't have a name, I don't think, but it's a black cat in a potted plant. And so I have no idea how many stitches I did because, you know, embroidery and cross stitch, totally different kinds of stitches. But I just worked on putting in more of these satin stitches in the leaves. And I think I had finished one color and now I'm on the second color of leaves. But yeah, this is a fun little piece, so it's good to have an excuse to get it out, even though it's not like my preferred craft of the moment. And yeah, so this is from a kit, so it's all the kit floss and fabric, and it's got a pre-printed design on it, so you use that to fill in. And then I think it washes away or irons away, I can't remember. Anyway, so that is that one. And I just worked on that a couple days to simulate 500 stitches because I really have no idea. And then the next thing is the Labrador puppy pattern, which I think I showed you previously, and it almost didn't look like anything because I had been working on the clouds, which are really light colored blue. That came up for, I think, 2 different Monopoly rolls, and so here's where I am. You can kind of see the outline of the puppy's head now. And yeah, just did like a lot of work on this. I think one of my roles was one where you're supposed to do full coverage, and since they don't really have any full coverage WIPs, this was the closest thing because the only thing that is not stitched on this is the white between the clouds, and then everything else is stitched. So yeah, I am looking forward to moving along on this. It's really cute. But it's not going to happen fast, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, this is, I think it's a 28 count or 32 count white alma fabric. So I believe that's like a cotton and synthetic blend. I'm not sure. It kind of has slubs like linen, but not quite the same feeling. So yeah, that is this one. Oh, I think it must be 28 count because I'm pretty sure it said that it was supposed to be done on 28 count. So that's Labrador Puppy. The designer's name is Jenny Barton, but not associated with any like cross-stitch designer name that I know of other than her name. And this was in the Cross Stitch Gold Animals magazine. So that's that one. And then moving into more recent things, I don't know if you know about Strawberry Moon, the Strawberry Moon Sal. I feel like everyone is really getting excited about strawberries again because they know it's coming up, but apparently the full moon or moon cycle or whatever that's around June is called the Strawberry Moon. And so last year, and I'm not sure, maybe she's done it other years, but Marjorie from Marjorie Made put together this sal called the Strawberry Moon Sal, and the idea is just you stitch on anything with the strawberry. And I had been watching Michelle Bendy do a spot sampler that she did with like different motifs from different retreats that she's been to, and And then the Stitcher Bride is kind of a spot sampler, although it's all the same designer. And so I decided that I wanted to do a Strawberry Moon sampler, spot sampler. So I don't remember if I showed it in WIPS or finishes, but I had done these first two pieces, and this is a 25 count Lugana, and I'm stitching 1/1. So this one I believe is called Strawberry Dream by Barbara Anna, and that one is Mini Cat with Strawberries or something like that. I'll put the name. And then and so this came up, those two had been done, and this came up, so I looked for another strawberry, and I found a strawberry from, I think, TinyCrossStitches. It's one of the ones I got the whole bundle. I'll put it up on the screen. But for the stitches I needed to do for Monopoly, I only got through this leaf and part of the top green part. But it's going to be like a pretty big strawberry there. And I've just been enjoying watching other Flosstubers and their various strawberry patterns, so I can decide what goes on it next. But that is my strawberry spot sampler. I am using DMC for everything so far. And yeah, we'll probably work on this a bit more next month. Then another another Monopoly roll was for Peace on Earth by Hands On Design. And so you might remember I just had the white in last time, and this time I put in some of those leaf colors that are in the body of the dove. And yeah, I was like a little bit skeptical about what it was going to look like with the colors over the top, but I think it's really nice and not so like stark. Yeah, so that is Peace on Earth by Hands On Design. This is, I believe it's 16 or 18 count Navy Ada. And what are the colors I'm using? Let me check. Yeah, I think it might just be DMC. I haven't put a floss conversion here, so it's probably just that it was in DMC. But yeah, there's two doves and then like some wording and some bells and things. So I'm probably like 30% complete with this, so pretty good start, and maybe it'll come up again on Monopoly. It is on my list of WIPs for Monopoly. You have 22 WIPs that you assign numbers to. I mean, you don't have to have 22, you can have less and just have them repeat. But I have 29 WIPs or something, so I just made them. I did a different project for each number, so that's exciting. Yeah, and then another project that I think I should progress on last time, but I just have not been making progress on for like a year, is the Winter Face by Goth'n Design. And you'll see the photo, it's like a bunch of different colors of blue, and it's a woman and her hair is all snowflakes. So I decided to stop just doing the one color for this one, so I started filling in this blue and some of this, I think it's a light blue but it looks white. And yeah, so it's kind of nice to see some like dimension happening. Yeah, so I made some progress on this one. This is, I believe, 14 count Black Ada. And again, I'm using DMC 2/2. I love this little needle minder. I don't know if you can see it. It's like a cat in a boat. I don't know exactly where I got it. It might have been Amazon, but real cute. Something I have been trying to work on, like as much as possible, is the Extraordinary Birds style. So you can see that I got like most of the top done, or all of the top done, and then I started moving down towards the bottom, and then the first release after the frame came out, and so I just started doing the bottom. It's mostly in the middle here. And so you can kind of see those are the bird's legs in the water. But yeah, I have a lot of catching up to do. I think this drop itself is about 1,000 stitches, but I was a couple thousand stitches behind. So my plan is that I will just try to complete the frame and the feet around where it is. And yeah, just do a little on the frame and a little on the animal. Well, they're all birds. Well, actually, this one has it has a bird of paradise plant, so it's a bird lookalike. So yeah, I wish I was a little further on this, but I'm still really excited about it. When I get to talking about personal stuff, you'll hear some of why I might be behind, but yeah, this is on a 36 count sandbar by BStitchMe, which is the called for, using DMC, and I decided to do 2/2. So that is that one. I know there's a lot of people working on this, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, I think this might have happened with the Deadly Aquarium, where I didn't quite finish the frame by the time the first drop happened, and then I ended up finishing it sometime in the middle. But yeah, it feels a little overwhelming right now. So trying to consider like what's my best strategy here. I know I didn't mention Cam the Stitcher in my shoutouts, but I did just watch an episode where she said that she felt very frazzled and her goals were out the window, and she was just trying to decide how to refigure goals and things, and I so feel that way. But I did not also go to a retreat in the middle of feeling frazzled. Well, I guess I went to the online retreat, but that's a little different. So yeah, so I'll get to that, plans and goals and stuff, in a bit. But I do have, I think, 3 more projects. So this was also a Monopoly roll. This is Gay Agenda, and this is another one I got from the Whole Shop bundles. I'm not sure if it's the same designer as the strawberry or if it's the other one, but I will put it in text so you'll be able to see it. But I had I decided to color complete with this, so I had started with the black so that would be all set up and it would make everything else way easier to count. And then I did the purple and the blue and part of the green, and it was how far I had gotten before I got this Monopoly roll. So I finished the side of the green and the green in the little schedule and the green heart, and then I still had, I think, like 42 stitches to do or something. And so oh, and there's also green in the taco. So I did the green in the taco, and then I started on the brown of the taco. So yeah, I'm excited. It was nice to get to work on this because I know that like Pride is coming, and so if I decide I really need to do more Pride stitching other than just Stitch for Pride, then this one has been touched recently, at least. So yeah, that's that one. I told someone in a stream or something that my gay agenda is probably a little more radical than this, but I still just like it all the same. You know, be gay Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, super gay Friday, Saturday, brunch gay on Sunday, and then Tuesday is for tacos. So there's more things that I want in the world for my agenda, but I still think it's funny because who knows what the gay agenda is. Anyway, so my last cross stitch whip is with love and a little help. So if you watch my episode where I was working on deer patterns, previously I just had the deer and not even the little collar. So I finished the 2 different tiers of the tree, or the 4 different tiers in the 2 colors for the tree. And then I started working with this color, which I thought might be fading into this, I want to say this color is called Old Gold, and the yellow is also something like Old Gold. But I actually think that when you look at it, it doesn't fade in too much. So that color is part of the like ribbon around the deer, and this is going to be a bird, but it doesn't have a beak or like one of its wings yet. And then it's also on the tree topper. Yeah, so I mean, this is great. This is like the majority of the things in this pattern. There's more, but yeah, it feels like a solid place for this to be in. And this is called With Love and a Little Help, and it's by Pansy Patch Quilts. And this is 32 count Lugana in, I want to say Old Gold by Bestitch Me. And I am using the DMC conversion. So I think there was specialty threads, but I didn't have any of them, and so I just decided to do the conversion. And even though it's like a prim piece, I decided to go for 2 over 2 because that's my preference. So some fat stitches in there. So that is my last cross stitch whip. But you know, there's a lot of whips. So I had also, one of my whip goes was to work on amigurumi, I think for April. And then one of them was FFOs, so you can tell I made some progress on FFOs. I think that one might have been March that I had not completed. And so I thought, well, I have these veggies where I have most of the crochet done, but I just need to finish them. So I thought I'd show you what I have done. So this is a little onion, like chives. And I think maybe I had the pieces done, but I hadn't put it together or added the little root piece. So that is that one. And all of these they have faces, so I haven't put on the eyes or the mouth yet. And then this one is a radish. So I think I had made the leaves, but I didn't put in the purple yet, and I hadn't attached them, so that's that one. And again, it needs a face. And then I think maybe for the garlic, I just hadn't added the sprouts at the top. So that's that one. Like I had stitched them, but I hadn't attached them. And then this guy also needs some eyes, and maybe this one doesn't have a mouth. So weird talking about vegetables having mouths, but that's for another day. And then I didn't do anything to this one, but this is the only other one that looks kind of finished. So this is the broccoli one. I'm not sure if I'm gonna continue, like try to do something. You can kind of see the polyfill. So I might try to do some stuffing and like creative weaving to make it less visible. But it's really obviously broccoli, so that's exciting. Yeah, so as I was doing my FFOs, I thought, oh, okay, well, I can finish the stuff that requires sewing on these, and then also like get out the glue gun and add the eyes and then stitch the mouth. And then I couldn't find the eyes for a while, and then well, first I couldn't find the glue gun, then I found the glue gun, then I couldn't find the eyes, then I found the eyes, and by that time my finishing bug was gone. So I still have to do the artichoke. That one is constructed from like 20 leaves and the base and the stalk. So it's like a lot of weaving in and a lot of you know, stitching, pinning the leaves onto the side of the artichoke, and then either gluing or stitching them to the side. And then the other one is this little rainbow pea pods. And I think I still have to actually make a couple leaves for the pea pod, or maybe just one. And or maybe it's just somewhere and I don't know where it is. But and then glue eyes on and glue the peas into the pod. Or so, I'm not really sure. Anyway, so the peas probably will be less hard, except that I don't have the leaves, so I have to stitch or crochet the leaves. But that artichoke is going to be like a lot of fussy work that's not as exciting as the crochet. So that is all of my WIPs. And yeah, gonna pause and then I'll come back and talk about goals and plans and haul. So be right back. Okay, so I'm back and slight change of plans. I think I'm going to start with haul because there's still like natural light coming in through the window in front of me. And I can talk about plans and goals and stuff once the sun is set, which should be happening pretty soon here. So if you're not into haul, feel free to skip forward a little bit, or you know, end here if you don't care so much about my plans and personal life updates and things like that. But yeah, if you're leaving now, thanks so much for coming. Great to have you here, and leave me a comment let me know what you're working on. But yeah, we'll go into haul. So once again, I have way too many threads. However, I did find the March color Classic Colorworks thread pack that I thought I had lost in the last video. So I do have that to show you. But first I will start off with some more misfits that I got from the Pirate Robin website. I think actually 2 of these are just a regular skein of thread. But yeah, let's get started. So I have this one is called Sunset. This one is Autumn Harvest. Now I'm pretty sure this one I bought at full price. This is Woodland Breeze. So it's kind of like a blue and teal with a little brown running through it. Horror. This is red and black. Then we have Belladonna, which is like a blue purple color. That one I feel like is not showing up that great color wise, but this one is Moonlight, so it's like a deep purple with some gray and brown. And this one is Red Wine, so some variegation of red and then like some really dark like purpley wine stain color. So those are the Pirate Robin threads I picked up. Again, it was sort of like deep discount because I was choosing from the Misfits pile for all but 2 of them. But yeah, their colors just really get to me sometimes. So, and I was in a room at the Spring Mingle where like everyone was looking at their website and like, ooh, which ones can we get? And I got a little carried away. But let's talk about Classic Colorworks. So I have, sorry about the crinkling, I have the March Club colors that I couldn't find last time. So these are, I was saying it couldn't be this one I couldn't have done yet because it's the M's and some N's. So this is Morning Glory. It's kind of a like light bluish purplish color. Then we have Mossy. It's like a yellowish green. Muddy Puddle. It's like brown and gray and dirty color. Mulled Berries. It's like this pinkish mauve color. Nature Trail. And Nighty Night, which is like a dark navy. So those are the March ones. I'm pretty sure I showed you April last time. And then Crinkly Crinkly. These are the May colors that I received. So we have onion skin. It's like a light brown. Orangina. This reminds me of rainbow sherbet, and I love it. It's like a orange and pink. Aura's Iris. Organza Pink. Pansy Purple. And Peapod. So those are the May ones. And then I also I did a little purchasing, and you know how things can't travel alone. So I ended up getting the new Classic Colorworks that came out at Market. So we have Sparkling Sparkling Rosé, green tea, and apple cider. So yeah, I went overboard on the floss, clearly. But this is the April fabric of the month from BitchStitchery, and I switched to a 40 count linen. But yeah, it is beautiful. It's like just, this is like beautiful spring blue, purple, yellow, green. So there's that one. That's probably the most exciting color. The other things I got were a small piece of flax linen in 40 count. I think I might use this for Pigeon and Puddle. And then same, a fat eighth of 25 count Vintage Country Mocha. But yeah, just thinking about smaller stitches, I like using 25 count Lugana to do 1/1 stitching, because it feels like doable, but I can also get really tiny stitches. And yeah, so I think that's all the fabric. I have this on my WIP Go list to start, so I figured it was a good time to purchase it, but I got Halloween at Hawkrun Hollow. So I have that now. I've heard that these patterns are good because they have like each of the blocks has its own page, so you can see it really well, and that's gonna help me with paper pattern. And yeah, I think that is it for patterns. I also picked up Michelle Bendy Stitches Stargazing. For some reason I thought I had ordered it in my first Market order, but I could not find it, and I didn't find it on any of my e-receipts either. So I did pick that up. It's like lost in a pile of patterns, because I was cataloging all my physical patterns, but I'll put a picture of it here. But yeah, just an oversight. I meant to show it in my last thing, but then it wasn't in the pile, and so probably should have gotten a PDF. But again, it was one of those this floss or this pattern can't travel alone situations, and I would love to give it away once I'm done using it too. So yeah. And then one other thing I got, which is not cross stitch, is that my aunt sent me this great, well, it looks great. I haven't really opened it, but it's called Machine Quilt. Learn to Machine Quilt with Pat Sloan. Maybe some of you who've been doing quilting forever know this person, but I do not. I just opened the first page and it says that this person used to be a programmer. So that'll be interesting seeing how their brain defines everything. But yeah, it's one of those crafts that I haven't really started, but I would love to try out. So I'm happy she sent me this. And yeah, it was a birthday present. So I think that might be all of my haul. But yeah, I will pause and then I'll come back and talk about goals, goal progress and plans, and like a little life update, and then I'll send you on your way. Okay, so I'm back. I took a little dinner break, but I just wanted to kind of go through where I am with my goals for the year, and just kind of thinking about what's coming up. And I wanted to show you my whip go boards in Notion, and then go through Pick a Whip and just kind of talk about other plans that I had at the beginning of the year and where I landed with them. So this is my whips and starts whip go. So you can see that I'm doing okay. So for April, okay, so for March, I still said that I haven't finished FFOs. I do think I've worked on FFOs for 3 days, but I really want to finish the ones that are in progress before I check this off. So that is outstanding. And then the other one for March was the Sloth, which I finished. And then for April, I had 5 days of stitching on the Labrador puppy, which I finished, and 2 days of amigurumi crochet. And I looked at my stitch tracker, and it looks like I actually only did 1 day of amigurumi, but I still want to finish those veggies and put their faces on and everything, so I'm just gonna leave that one not finished for now. Now for May, I call the two numbers were 5 and 19, and that was Crocus in a Pot, which you've seen before, and Winter Face, which you saw I just had for a Monopoly call. So I actually finished Winter Face, or at least the 2 days of stitching there, but I haven't yet worked on Crocus in a Pot. So 5 days of stitching kind of feels a little bit like a lot, but that's just because I have so many other things going on. So I keep kind of hoping that it gets rolled on Monopoly, and then a couple of those days are just killing two birds with one stone. But yeah, this is my whips and starts board. And then I have a second board that is Christmas and ornaments. And this one, it looks like I could get a WIPCO, like a bingo, if 6 gets called and finished. So that's kind of exciting. And then it looks like I finished everything for January through April, but I haven't started on either of my May ornament calls. So those are Merry Creepmas and Santa over Toronto. So Merry Creepmas is kind of like a spooky Christmas ornament by Haunted Frames, I believe. And Santa over Toronto is one of the Jingle Bell Baubles book ornaments for the 2024 Bauble book. And it's actually the Lindy Stitches design. And Santa is riding a Canadian goose, so that's appropriate. So again, that's 6 days total that I haven't done any of. So we'll see how that goes. This board also, I kind of just count it as yes if I did a start, but I have been keeping up with the different days that are on here. And just to let you know, this is the WIPGO template that is included with Stitchy Nutty's cross stitch template. I think it's called the Stitchery. And I just duplicated the board in order to have 2 boards, and I actually have a 3rd board that's like household chores stuff, which I won't share with you. So that's where we are on that one. The June numbers haven't been called yet, but I feel actually pretty good looking at this about the Christmas ones because I actually have 2 of the ornaments complete and some good progress on the other ones. So, you know, hopefully I'll catch up. And then there's also a Pick-a-Whip template for Notion. And I'm not sure if this was included in the Stitchery template, or I think so. It kind of looks like it would be, but I'm not totally positive. And so these are the different prompts that Marjorie Maid has come up with for each month. And you can see I've done all of them, except for May. So May is designer starting with M and floral or flowers. Now, since I have a WIPGO call for crocus in a pot, I'm going to use that one like double dip for the flowers and floral one. But I haven't decided what I'm doing for the designer starting with M. So if we look at my list of projects, I have Kyoko Maruoka, is her last name starts with M, or Mill Hill, or Tiny Modernist. I think that's all I have of WIPs that I have already started. So one of those, either Anne Frank, the pink flower, or Twilight Moon. Hopefully I can get some stitches on that. I kind of think with all of these, it can be like a checklist. So if I don't get them done this month, then if I get them done like before the end of the year, it still counts. But also, like, I've always said that I don't want to play the game if it starts to feel like an obligation. I am motivated by like being accountable to someone else. So I think that's why I like Cross Stitch Monopoly, because it's like interactive and you know, you can joke around with the other people playing the game and people are really like supportive, but you still have to finish it in order for the next person to go, or in order for you to take your next turn, depending on what you land on. So Yeah, so I actually feel like I'm doing okay with Whip Go and Pick a Whip, although it is like almost 2/3 of the way through the month, and I feel like there's still a lot of things to do because, in addition to starting the 2 ornaments, doing work on crocus in a pot, and something for the M designer, um, I also have um, oh, I just thought of like Michelle Bendy Stitchy. Bendy Stitchy is the designer name, but Michelle's name starts with an M, so that's also a possibility. Um, but yeah, so I also have my 2 stitch alongs, which are Stitch for Pride 2025, which I haven't started the May pattern for yet, and then the Extraordinary Birds Stitch Along by Lola Crow. So there's a lot of things that I could be doing. Um, I think what I might do is keep my goals the way that they are, and then just, you know, if I need to focus on the stitch alongs so that I'm keeping up with those, and then come back to Whip Go, or vice versa, that's okay. I'm kind of hesitant to fall too far behind with the Lola Crow one because it is like I feel like it could get overwhelming fast. So I am gonna try to keep up with that one, but I feel like the others are like Stitch for Pride is like between 800 and 1200 stitches per month, but it's usually like all the same color, so at least it's monochromatic stitching and it doesn't require a lot of like thread changes. And then the other thing, which isn't exactly a stitch along, but it goes along in the year, is my temperature stitching, which I have not done anymore since the last time we saw it. It was up to date through April 11th, I think. But again, I think like catching up with that is something that I could do over a few days at some point, because it's not really that many stitches. It's just a lot of color changing, and so it's kind of better to do a bunch at once so you're like in the rhythm of it. So yeah, so I guess I'm not changing my plans quite as much, except that I think I'm going to prioritize Extraordinary Birds and Cross Stitch Monopoly. And then if the Whip Go calls are late or whatever, that's fine. The Extraordinary Birds one will end, I think, in September, August or September. And so there'll be lots of time to catch up, I think. And then, yeah. So I'm hoping that'll work out. We'll see if I'm more frazzled next month that I might change my mind, or if I get really excited about a new pattern or something. So far, I feel like I've been pretty good. Well, I guess I started a lot of things last month, but most of them were planned. And then this month, my only new start that wasn't planned was the Bees Got Knees one, which I signed up for the class for, so I felt like I needed to at least start it. Which reminds me, the Spring Mingle was put on by Lindy Stitches. Steph has done like a ton of these events this year. So there's also like Midsummer Stitch, I think, is the next one. And I know she's been doing the Jingle Ball for a while. But yeah, it's great. But one of the good things about it is also that if you missed some timed recorded event, then like the class or one of the like designer meet and greets, you can go back and listen to them or watch them for 30 days after the event is over. So I have to remind myself to watch the Bees Got Knees class at least one more time, even if I'm not done stitching. And then I think Kathy Haberman also might have some tutorials on the same kind of finishing that I could look up later, but it was really good, and the instructions that are written like also had pictures, and so it seemed good. But yeah, so I think that's all I have to say about goals. I got a little worried about signing up for a second board because my first on Cross Stitch Monopoly, because my first board started going really quickly. Like everyone on the board would go in one day, and then there'd be like a few of us that were taking longer to finish our stitches, so then it would like slow down for a little bit, but then everyone would go in one day. But I think that board only has 5 people, and my new board has 8 people, and it's not like everyone trying to finish everything as fast as they can on that one either. So it does sometimes take like a week or 2 before it comes back around to me. And so I think that's gonna be fine. Yeah. So that is my goal progress. Plans are, I guess, to just try to catch up on Extraordinary Birds and keep up with my Monopoly, and then try to fit in WIPGO where I can, and same with the temperature stitching. I'm not super pressed about that. Like if it is on my Monopoly too, so I feel like it's possible that I'll roll, and then I'll get that, and it'll be 500 stitches, and then I'll be all caught up again. So yeah, I think that is my plan for now. Like I said, we'll see how frazzled I am / in pain I am. And then let me see if I had any other plans on my list. Oh, okay, so plans that are not like cross stitch games, is that I'm thinking about signing up for PNWS, the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit or something like that. It's the retreat that Acorns and Threads does in Portland in September, and I'm from Portland, and so it would be like an excuse to visit my dad and my mom and my brother, and I would have a place to stay, so it might be a little bit less expensive than one where I need to like get a hotel, and so yeah, I'm still thinking about that. I haven't bought my ticket, so it's possible I will wait too long and then there won't be any spots left. But yeah, I am thinking about that. And then one of the things I saw when I was watching Crafty Gaming Jamie's Flosstube is this blanket that she started making that is crochet. It's called the 2% blanket by Lindsay James, and she was doing it with this mandala yarn, which is self-striping, so it's like multiple colors, but you get one color for a certain length and then it switches to another color. So it's good if you want something to have multiple colors but not have to keep changing yarn. And so this blanket just like caught me as like, oh, I've never crocheted a blanket before, but this looks good. And I think part of it is that it's a square blanket, but it's done in the round. So like each row or square that you're doing is like a certain kind of stitching, and then the next set of stitches is a different kind of stitching, and so it has like different textures that move out from the center. And so I think that would help me with like not getting bored with the same exact pattern over and over again. And then the color changing, I think is also going to just be exciting to watch. So I did order some yarn for that. I looked at the two colors I'm looking at are Centaur and Spirit, and I'll put the colors up on the screen so you can see what those look like. I did realize after I got the pattern that I actually need two bonus bundles, and I only ordered one. But it did seem like Lion Brand has like a lot of sales where sometimes you can get it like 30% off. And so I think I'm just gonna start the blanket, and then when I start to get closer to the end of the skein, then I will order the second one. Because who knows how long this will take me, really. I'm excited about it right now, but you know, I hadn't touched the amigurumi in like weeks. I mean months, really. And so we'll see if it catches my fancy and I just keep going, or if I start it and then I put it aside for a while. So yeah, those are my plans. And then just some like personal stuff, I guess, or thoughts. At the beginning of May, I don't know if it's because I was like trying to finish all my goals and I was stitching a lot or what, but my thumb started hurting, and medical talk incoming, content warning. And so previously I had been diagnosed with trigger thumb, which is like, if you look at your hand, it's like, right here, you kind of get pain like at the base of your finger. Some people get trigger finger, which is why that's what it's called, but mine is in the thumb. And it's totally a repetitive stress injury from cross stitching, even though they say that you can't get it that way. Even the PA was like, it's probably from that. And so the first 2 times that you go to the doctor, they will give you a shot in your palm of a steroid to make the swelling go down, because basically what happens is it gets like swollen in this area, and it's the tendon needs to go through a sheath, and then because it's swollen it hurts, and you can get like your thumb can get stuck bent position. So yeah, basically they had to give me a shot of like, what do you call it? I want to say lidocaine, but I don't think that's right. Anyway, they give you like numbing, local numbing anesthetic, and then they give you a steroid shot. So it's like 2 shots in your palm, and not really fun, but I just look away and try not to squirm. And the first time it worked for about 4 months, and then I went back and they gave me another one, and they said after the second one then they would probably recommend surgery, because if it keeps coming back then the steroid shot can't like resolve it for the entire time. So and I think the surgery, I'm not sure if it's like cutting the pulley that gets swollen, or if it's just like making it smaller so it'll go through the sheath. I know there's a lot of these like tendons and pulleys in your hand, and so even if like the one that gets swollen isn't working, like the other ones in your hand will compensate. But yeah, so it had been 8 months since I got the last shot. The last shot was in August, I want to say. So I must have gone at the end of April. And so they said, you know, we could give you another shot. And I was like, oh, that'd be great, because I just wanted it to, because it was like, it would take like a day or 2 and then I would be totally fine. And but like really we recommend surgery. And I was like, oh, okay, what's that look like? And they said, well, it's kind of like a dentist appointment in that like we put in local anesthetic and it takes like 20 minutes and then you go home. And the doctor said that you would normally do it on a Thursday and then take Friday off maybe. He said not everyone does that, but like if the pain is gonna have a nagging thing in your mind so you can't get anything done, you might want to do that, and then just rest it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then you should be able to use it again on Sunday night or Monday morning, for most people. So you know, being as like the last time I just got a shot and then it was better, I was kind of like, okay, great, let's do it today. But of course they didn't have any appointments that day. And they were like, okay, we're gonna have you meet the doctor, so then you won't have to come back in for the consult before the surgery, you'll just come back in for the surgery. And so that was good. And then, but they didn't schedule me while I was there. And then they called me. And by the time I called them back, they were like, oh, now we don't have anything until July. So I'm kind of just trying to be like gentle with it, but it's hard because it's like, it's doing these kinds of motions, which obviously like you can do more or less of when you're cross stitching, that is like the most painful. And then when it's really inflamed, it's hard to like open jars and things I need to do for like cooking or just normal like life stuff. Fortunately it doesn't hurt when I type, so it doesn't really affect me working, because mostly I'm like typing and talking and mousing and things like that, but not anything with like a grip. And so I've been kind of trying to take it easy. But then of course yesterday I got really excited about what I was doing and I ended up stitching a lot, and now it's painful again. So I might have to take a few more days off, which is partially why I decided to film today, because I knew it would take me a good amount of time, and that would be time I was not stitching or wasn't tempted to stitch. Also kind of hoping that like maybe the crocheting will be a good break. Like it's a different kind of tension. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm hoping they can get me in sooner, like if they have a cancellation or something. But yeah, hand surgery is it's kind of like stressful to think about, but they also said it's like 3 dissolvable stitches or something. Like you really don't, the recovery isn't that bad. So yeah, so after that appointment I was kind of like disappointed and like feeling like just kind of let down. And then also I feel like I've just been like, this month has been like a bad month for hormones. I'm like, my hormones have been up and down in general, but like some months are just not good. And so yeah, I was kind of down in the dumps, and then like I've turned the corner a little bit, and also up until like today my thumb wasn't really hurting because I was doing a good job about being gentle. And then like I think I waited until I had a monopoly roll before I stitched again, and that was a few days. So I did like a few days of rest before the appointment, and then like I did a few days of rest after. And then since then I've been trying to like do like, I don't know, 200 stitches a day, or like if I have a monopoly roll that's 500 stitches, I'll try to make it go over a couple days, just so that I'm not like stressing my hand out more than it needs to. But yeah, so far it's not stopping me from cross stitching, but I know that if I get distracted and let myself stitch for a few hours without stretching, then I am not gonna be happy. So that's a little disappointing. But I think it will be good in the long run. I'm hoping. I think they said that you usually get 100% like improvement if you do the surgery, for most people. So that's good. Yeah. And what else am I thinking about? I went to Spring Mingle. I was a lot more social this time. I couldn't make it to the Culpeper, Virginia thing that I went to in March. Yeah, I couldn't make it to the April one, and then the May one was today. So I couldn't make it to that one either, because I just need to find someone who's willing to let me like take a bus to them in closer northern Virginia, and then they could take me the rest of the way or something. Or I need to figure out something else. But it seemed like for the amount of time it would take to get there and back, it would be like renting a zip car for a whole day, which is like not worth it. It's like $100 or more. So, but you know, I really still enjoy that I like made these like new kind of friends with some other stitchy people in the area, and I've been enjoying watching the hiker stitcher when she comes up in my feed. And of course Becca is stitching, and I just watched a new one that Mary Grace put out. And I think I watched one that was the Shenandoah Stitcher. So, you know, it's like nice to be able to say like, oh, I met that person in person, so I know what they're like live as well as like in their Flosstube video. But yeah, and I mean it's the same with like the going to people's Twitch streams. Like I feel a little bit more connected. It's like I worry a little bit sometimes that I'm just like encouraging myself to not leave the house. But I also like the idea of like building community with other cross stitchers, because I really didn't know. I mean, I have one of my best friends who lives in Colorado does some cross stitch, but she's certainly not as obsessed with it as I am. And, you know, she's in Colorado, so I can't see her in person. But yeah, so I had a good time at Spring Mingle. And I went to that class, like I said, and that was really good. And then there was another thing that was not a paid class that Kathy Haberman did, where she was just giving people ideas for how to finish things, and that was cool. And again, I was in a room with Wendy, the Matrix Stitcher, for a period of time, and I was in a room with, I think it's Kim, the Snitch Stitcher, and she's always posts funny things on Instagram that are like things that she heard at a retreat that could be taken in a different way, like innuendo or whatever, but it's really about stitching. And she was really funny, so it was entertaining. And yeah, I felt like it was good, like connecting with people, even though I didn't like totally connect with anyone super strongly. There was one woman who's from Arizona, if I can remember her Instagram, I'll insert it, who like we ended up in a stitching room and it was just the two of us, and so we were just chatting while we were stitching. But it wasn't like, it wasn't awkward, but it was like, you know, normally you'd be in a room with several people, so we got to like know each other a little better than we would otherwise. And yeah, and then Wendy and her friend Donna are hosting like a Zoom meetup, and Donna is in the UK and Wendy is in Colorado, so there are like some US stitchers and some UK stitchers, and I think there was someone who's in Finland.
So that was just interesting, and like, you know, different conversations than you would have if you're just talking to US stitchers. So like they were talking about having to go because they're gonna watch Eurovision with their family, and like just things that are not as like much of a thing in the US, or like the different retreats that they went to that were in England or other places. So yeah, so that was nice. Yeah, I feel like this last month has just been really like me trying to reach out to different people to like be like, hey, I'm gonna be your friend now, okay? Is that okay? Can we be friends? Um, and like I said, I've been having a lot of fun like joining these Twitch streams with people who I know from Monopoly, basically. And then like also like finding out that they have a Flosstube is fun. Like I just realized that someone who's in both of my boards, I'm not sure how you say her name. It's like Plexithy. I'll put it on the screen. But it's Megan, and she is one of the two Megans that is the long distance stitchers. And so I just found out, like, oh, this person also has a Flosstube, and watched that. And I also started watching Sammy J Stitches, who's the originator of the Monopoly game. Um, and it's just like coming back to more like serious goal stitching after a period of not doing that as much, or at least not filming. Um, and so, yeah, it's just been like a lot of kind of me feeling a little down, but then like also trying to reach out and hang out with people, and at least virtually. Um, so yeah, that's been good, I guess. Um, yeah, I think that's all the like personal stuff. I do have a few books that I read since we last talked about books. So I'll add those here. Um, First, I finished Babel a while back, um, and it was really good. It definitely got into the like, oh, okay, this is like like now it's getting really like bad colonial treatment by the British, and including towards the translators in the Babel Institute. It's like a fake institute, translation institute in Oxford, and it's in the early 20th century is the setting, but translation is like creates magic in a way that like makes everything in the empire go. So like it helps like boats to keep going fast, or um like there's some like examples of like more like things for rich people, like this is something that my partner would love to have. It's like a thing that they put on their gate that makes it so when you're in the yard you can't hear anyone outside of the yard. um but just different things like that where um, they're using translation of non-English languages um, in order to create these like silver bricks that are magical and like help like fuel industry basically. um, and so um, the main character is like raised in China, and is but is somehow has like a nanny that is teaching him English all the time, even though his family is really poor, and he doesn't really know why until this person shows up and is like, "Hey, let's go make you a translator," and they go to Oxford, and then it's kind of like the more like school of magic environment for a while. Um, But yeah, I thought it was really good. I really like this author, R.F. Kuang. She seems to really like to meld like magical elements with things that are actually like relevant to historical context. So that was cool. But you know, there's definitely like a lot of like racism and settler colonialism stuff in it that's uncomfortable, and um yeah. And like the one of the students in his class is Victoire, and she speaks French, but she also speaks Haitian Creole, and they just always say like, "Oh, you should like use the Haitian Creole for this," but she doesn't want to share too many things that like reveal cultural secrets and things like that. And then they also kind of just like talk it down, like it's not that important of a language. So I don't know. I love translation and learning languages and all the things. So this was like tickled my brain, and then plus the storyline was interesting. Um, so I don't want to give away too much, so I won't say too much more about the plot. But that was really good. I definitely recommend it. Um, Another like less serious but really enjoyable book that I read recently is The Cemetery Boys, and this was like uh, a trans boy in a Latino family that has magic, and like um, they like the male family members can become brujos, and um, but the the character's like transness isn't fully accepted by everyone, and so there's this like real desire to be part of this like male coming of age and becoming a brujo thing, that is like not completely accepted. And then the setting is just really interesting. There's like they do a lot of like Day of the Dead preparation, so it's around that time. Most of this the book is in the time frame like right around Day of the Dead, and their home is actually on like the cemetery grounds, and so there's like interactions with like metaphysical like paranormal stuff because they're in the cemetery and they're like in a sort of magical family, and there's like a ghost character and like a little bit of like a murder mystery element to it, but it's all like very like um YA, like almost romantasy kind of vibe. Like it's very like cozy mystery. But obviously it also has elements of like um, the danger of being a person of color or a trans person or um, those kinds of things. So I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was like great literature, but it was super enjoyable. So I would recommend that one. Um, I also read This Is How You Lose the Time War. Um, and I had heard a lot about this book. It has two different authors, and I was just like really interested in it, but I'm not really sure why. And then um, it's like most of it is the thoughts of two people who are on different sides of the time war, um, and they go by red and blue, and it's not always clear like if one of them is a like robot or AI, or like one of them is a person who's, you know, like organically a person. And they write these letters to each other basically. But yeah, despite like feeling like I could maybe not explain what the plot is or what exactly the characters were, it was super like interesting and entertaining to read this in this format, because it's basically like they were writing letters to each other. So there wasn't a whole lot of um, story outside of like what they were supposedly writing to each other. So yeah, um, that was super interesting, and I would definitely recommend it. Maybe someone else would be like not as lost with like what is going on, but I also kind of feel like that's part of it, is like you weren't supposed to necessarily like be able to just put together like this is the plot and this is what's happening in the war, because it wasn't really about that. It was more about the like interaction between these two people on opposite sides of the war. um so yeah, and then um I also read To a Darker Shore, which I feel like someone recommended to me, and maybe it was on Flosstube, but I have no idea who it was. So this is like also YA, and also fantasy. So it's like these two friends, and one of them is like um, so it's kind of like medieval. I don't know. There's a court basically. Like so, there's like really rich people who are part of the like monarchy, etc. And then there's like the people or whatever. So she's definitely like part of the people, and she lives like in like more of a rural setting, and like is like really good at fighting, and like can fight off the like these dragons that come to the island, and like is also really smart about different like engineering kind of ideas, um and um and he is like part of the royal family, but he likes to spend all of his time in the rural area, and like a lot of it with her. And he's really good at painting, but also really good at like the engineering stuff. Like they sort of connect on that stuff. And um, she is a fat person, and like so there's like some like there's even like a trigger warning at the beginning of the book that there's like some like body dysmorphia and like um sort of anti-fat stuff happening both in her brain and like externally. um and they're both kind of meant to be like come across as autistic, and so it's like he is part of this royal family and like has a really hard time fitting in because he doesn't know how to follow the social rules. And then so I don't know, there was like parts of it where I was like, oh, this is like laying it a little heavy on the anti-fat bias and stuff. And like she's probably not thinking about it that much, but I don't know. And then similarly with him, there were some points where it was like stereotypical, like you knew he was supposed to be a stereotypical autistic person in some scenarios. But I still just really enjoyed that these characters existed, and like that there wasn't like she was never trying to be like thin, so there was so that part of it was different. And then and it was more like he was trying to figure out how to mask appropriately. um and then there's like other just like weird like elements to like their society, which I won't go into right now. I think you should read the book. But yeah, so I was just like both really happy that these characters existed, and then also kind of wondering like maybe there's a slightly more like mature way to look at them. um I do feel like they were multifaceted, but there was just like relying heavily sometimes on their characteristics that make them different. um so yeah, but I would definitely recommend it. And Michelle Bendy Stitchy was listening to the audiobook The Monster of Florence, and she was talking about it on her Flosstube, and I just got sucked in. And then I was listening to it, and it was really, really interesting. So, The Monster of Florence this is a nonfiction book. The Monster of Florence was a serial killer in Florence, and I think it was like the 70s and 80s were when the majority of the murders happened. And it was almost always like couples that had gone off into like a rural area in their cars to have sex. So, like, basically, because of the way that the traditional society was, like, people were living at home. And so, this is like a really common thing for people to go and have sex in their cars before they get married. So the murderer would pick couples, and those were the victims. So the story is from this guy who writes, I forget what the name of the character is. It wasn't books that I knew about, but he writes books with a co-author. And he had gone to Italy in order to write a book, like a fiction book. But ended up meeting this Italian journalist who had covered the story like since the beginning, and getting really interested in it. And then they like did more investigation, and it's just like really interesting. I have been to Florence only once, and I was 8 years old, but it was the first time that I left the U.S., and so it has like a special place in my memory. And like, I had an 8-year-old brain, so it wasn't super complex. I think my parents always talk about how my favorite part of it was the gelato. But it definitely like made an impression on me going to another country at that age. And we also went to the Netherlands and France, but this was happening, I want to say, like not that far off from the year that I was there. And there's a lot of like discussion of what the culture was like in Florence and in Italy in general, and like how the police work and how the media works, and just like the parts of it that are like the author is American, so he moves to Italy with his family in order to write this original book. But so he has a perspective on it that's like coming from an American perspective. It's like, oh, this is not how the police work, or this is not how the media works. And then you also hear him like sort of getting used to living in Italy and feeling more Italian and having places where people know him, and that's interesting too. The one thing I will say, and I don't know if it was hard for me to understand if this was like an accurate representation or not, but a lot of times when the person reading the audiobook was reading the Italian characters, it almost seemed like it was like a little bit like extra Italian accent. But it was hard for me to tell if that was like would be totally normal if you're like talking to people who know Italians. So And it's all in translation, so I'm sure like a lot of it was in Italian. But yeah, so, and then there was actually an interview with the author at the end, and they also were talking about how the story of Hannibal was based on the Monster of Florence. I mean, obviously Hannibal is like a fictional character, and there's like elements of it that are, like, were just made up, but it was kind of like an inspiration for that. And so yeah, so I don't know, I am like really interested in true crime and sort of like um especially stories of like people who are wrongfully accused getting justice and things like that. And this like falls in that category sometimes. And then other times it's just like interesting commentary on Italian culture and institutions. So yeah, I found that super interesting. And it was like very compelling as an audiobook, despite the like extended. I mean, I don't speak Italian, so I'm not really sure if it was like over the top accents, but it kind of reminded me of when my partner does an over the top French accent because he grew up in France, where it's like way beyond how you would actually speak. But it was very good. So thank you, Michelle, for that recommendation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then right now I'm reading two books. One is Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chipeko. And I've read several of her other books, and this one is different, I think. But it it's a place that has vampires and non-vampires in the society, and it also seems like it's got like it has different courts, so there's like that medieval element of like different kingdoms, and some of the courts are ruled by vampires and some of them are ruled by humans. And the main character is like a bounty hunter for basically like it's usually people who have been turned to become a vampire and then just like lost themselves and went completely off the rails and need to be like put down because they don't have any control and they're just killing people. It seems like the vampires that are part of courts and stuff are like much more controlled, and so I'm not sure like how that exactly works. But yeah, so it's interesting. He is like they call them reapers. So he's like kind of a reaper, but the head of the reapers like really didn't get along with his father, and so he's kind of outcast because of that. And so he's kind of like an outsider everywhere, and like but he's really good at his job, so they always ask him to do like the hard bounties. And then the part where I am now, he's traveling to kind of like find out what's happening with this like vampire mutation that's like causing even more chaos. But he's traveling with two vampires. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing a very good job explaining it, but the world is really interesting and the characters are interesting. And there's a lot of like, oh, I have this like strong opinion about someone, and then you find out like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have had that opinion about them because I really didn't know the whole story. And I appreciate that because I feel like that's more true to life than like, oh, this person is my nemesis and they'll always be my nemesis. So, you know. And then the other one I'm reading is called Odd Blood, which is like urban fantasy, I want to say. There is like so far she's like was at a party and someone was like falling over drunk kind of, but it's a Halloween party and he keeps saying stuff about being a vampire, but she just thinks like it's Halloween and he's really drunk. And is like walking with him, and then like the more the story goes on, it's like, oh, maybe this is actually a vampire, a real vampire. I didn't know those existed. But it's very like urban, young adult, like with like magical realism, I guess. But so far I haven't really gotten to any of the like magical part. It's just more like her like kind of going along and not really thinking, just thinking this is like a weird person, but not that they might be dangerous or anything. And like so I'd say it's actually going kind of slow, but I feel like it's still entertaining because there's like an element of like not understanding things culturally coming from him, which is probably because he's a vampire, and then like her feeling weird and just feeling like she's a weird person in general, like not feeling super confident in herself or like that she's like anyone else. And so feeling like a connection for that reason, but not like understanding that there might be a level of danger. So, yeah, I think like my younger self can definitely relate to that bit. So, I mean, obviously, never encountered any vampires that I know of, but yeah. So those are just like a few of the books I read. If you liked any, if you have read any of these, I'd love to know what your opinions were, or if you have any recommendations for other books that might be similar to the ones that I described for the reasons that I like them. I would love to hear them. I think the Babel and Silver Under Nightfall, I have read several books by those authors, but the other ones are all new authors to me. So yeah, so this was like a journey, this Flosstube. So hopefully it's not like 3 hours long, but I hope that you enjoyed what you heard and you saw some stitching that was interesting to you, or you found something you could relate to. Let me know also if the audio was going in and out. I had times where I thought maybe the microphone wasn't working, but then when I listened to it, it didn't sound that bad, so I'm not totally sure. But yeah, so let me know if there was anything super weird about this video, or if you have any questions about any of my WIPs, or yeah, just in general. Thanks for coming, and I will see you next time, which I'm guessing will be in about a month. Bye, everybody.